can take notes also. And over to Indu Lekha Mataji. Indu Lekha Mataji will walk you through chapter 2. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let me start by sharing the slides. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in week 2 of the 18 chapters in 18 weeks. This is, today we would be covering chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, and by all of your blessings and association. So I would like to start by thanking all of the organizers and the coordinators of this Bhakti Sangha Japa group, and for giving me an opportunity to summarize this chapter. I am a neophyte and I definitely have lots to learn, but you have given me an opportunity, and I pray that the message of Srila Prabhupada is clearly delivered by me here. Thank you so much, Mataji, for all of your support. And I'll start with our prayers. So we start. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So let's get started, and we will start with a recap of the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, okay, yeah, we talked about how Dhritarashtra inquired to Sanjaya. It starts with Dhritarashtra's inquiry, and he wants to know what is going on the battlefield. So Sanjaya explains how everyone came and assembled on the battlefield, how all the different conch shells were blown, but how the sound of the conch shells from the side of the Pandavas, that showed clear victory for them. And after this point, after everyone sounded their conch shells, Arjuna requests Krishna to draw his chariot over to the middle of the two armies. But once he sees his relatives, Arjuna is overwhelmed and bewildered. And he gives 4 reasons for not fighting. So he says that, oh, he feels so much compassion for his relatives. He feels so much compassion for everyone that's assembled there on the battlefield. And he says, no, this is not a good idea. He also feels like, okay, see, if I win and if I gain victory over this kingdom, I would still be losing all of my relatives. Then what is the use of winning in battle if I am not going to be able to enjoy it with them? So that was the second reason that he gives. The third reason that he gave was that he was afraid of incurring sin, because these are all his own family members, these are his friends. He feared that he would incur sin. And finally, in the first chapter, the last reason that Arjuna gives was that if the elders in the family are killed, then the family traditions would be destroyed. And with this, Arjuna, he puts down his Gandiva and he decides not to fight. So now this raised the spirits of the Dhritarashtra. He was hopeful that now the kingdom is going to remain in their hands. But in chapter 2, Sanjaya tries to clear the air. He is going to tell Dhritarashtra how Krishna properly guides Arjuna. So the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is known as Contents of the Gita Summarized. That's the so in this chapter, why is it called so? It is a very vast chapter. There are 72 verses in this chapter, and that makes it the second largest chapter in the Bhagavad Gita. Of the 18 chapters, the 18th chapter is the longest, and this is the second. So in this chapter, as the title correctly suggests, it is an overview of the entire philosophy that's covered in the entire Bhagavad Gita. It touches upon Karma Yoga, a little bit of Jnana Yoga. It also gives us a glimpse of Bhakti Yoga. So these are going to be covered in great detail in the future chapters. Over here, it is just a brief summary of it. So now this first slide shows us the breakup of the chapter. So these 72 shlokas are going to be split into 4. And we have an acronym for that, just like how we had an acronym for the first chapter. So the acronym for the second chapter is Gita. Okay, G-I-T-A. So G stands for Guru. So between verses 1 to 10, we will talk about Arjuna, where he gives his fifth argument and how he finally surrenders to Krishna. In the second section, which consists of verses 11 through 30, Krishna is going to explain what our real identity is. He is going to describe the characteristics of the body, the soul. He's going to explain what the differences are there. In the third section, which are our 2 duties, that is covered between verses 31 to 53. So that talks about what our responsibilities in this material world are. The 2 duties are, one is our Swadharma, or the responsibilities in this world, and our Sanatan Dharma, or our eternal duties, what we have to perform always. The fourth section is going to be from verses 54 through 72, and it talks about the characteristics of a person who is fixed in his true consciousness. Such a person is called a Sthita Prajna person. So let us look at the first section. We start with the second verse of this chapter. And as you all can see here, it starts with Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So in the Bhagavad Gita, this is the very first time that Krishna is going to start speaking. So here we'll recite the verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalam Midam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Justam Asvargyam Akirti Karam Arjuna. So here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I'm reading the translation. He said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy. So we saw how Arjuna gave so many reasons in the first chapter for not fighting battle. And here now, Krishna is saying, how have these impurities, he's like, kutastva kashmalamidam, where has this dirtiness in your heart come from? Why are you lamenting about this? And he says, this is completely anarya. This is, Arya is someone who knows the value of life. And anarya is someone who is going to be a coward and run away from that situation. No. So that's why Krishna is saying, this is anarya. This is not befitting you. And he says, this is asvargyam. He says that this does not lead to higher planets. And he'll also say, this is going to bring you akirti. This is going to be the cause of infamy for you, Arjuna. So in this way, right in the beginning, Krishna gives Arjuna a heavy chastisement. He directly tells him, why are you thinking like this, right? So, and you need to fight the battle. So Krishna, throughout this Bhagavad Gita, he will explain to Arjuna, and he will constantly be reminding Arjuna that he needs to fight this battle. It is his duty, and as a Kshatriya, he is bound to do his duty. So it is very interesting how Krishna is referred to as Sri Bhagavan. When we see in the Bhagavad Gita that when Dhritarashtra is speaking, it says Dhritarashtra Vacha. When Arjuna is speaking, it says Arjuna Vacha. When Sanjaya is speaking, it says Sanjaya Vacha. But when Krishna is speaking, it doesn't say Krishna Vacha. It says Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Every single place it will say that. Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So who is this Bhagavan? Right? What are the attributes of Bhagavan? Why does Krishna qualify as Bhagavan? So let us get that clear for everyone. So we have a few pictures here that are going to describe the different characteristics. Bhagavan comes, it's if you split the word Bhagavan into Bhaga and Van. Bhaga means all opulences or all Aishwarya, all riches. And Van is the possessor. So Bhagavan is one who possesses all opulences in totality. So what do we mean by all opulences, right? So Parashara Muni has explained this very clearly, that Bhagavan is one who is full in 6 opulences. These are primary attributes. And he says he should have all strength, all wealth, all fame, all knowledge, all beauty, and all renunciation. So through so many of Krishna's pastimes, we would be able to actually give many examples of how Krishna possesses all of these. So here are some scenarios, some examples. Krishna is the possessor of all strength. Here we see a little boy Krishna who is just 7 years of age. He is holding the entire Govardhan Parvat on his little finger. So of his left hand, that too. And he continues to stay in that position for 7 days and 7 nights, protecting all the people of Vrindavan. So this is a huge mountain that Krishna has lifted up on his little finger while he is such a small child. And in this process, he does not even break a sweat, right? And so definitely that shows how strong he is. He did not attempt this a few times before he actually lifted the Govardhan. It was a very spontaneous reaction of the Lord. So that is an example of how Krishna is the possessor of all strength. Krishna is the possessor of all wealth. As we can see here, Mother Lakshmi, Lakshmi Devi, is massaging the lotus feet of the Lord, right? And in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma himself says that Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambhrama Sevya Manam Govindamadi Purusham tamaham bhajami. He says thousands of Lakshmi Devis are serving the Lord, and that Govinda is the one whom I worship. When we are young, we are told, and maybe even now, that we worship Lakshmi Devi in order to get some wealth. But here we see how Lakshmi Devi wants to be a servant. She wants to be serving the Lord. So the Lord is the possessor, and not just one Lakshmi, thousands of Lakshmi Devis. So Lord is the possessor of all wealth. Next is the Lord is the possessor of all fame. As we see here, we have a picture of the Jagannath Rath Yatra in Puri, where so many people have come to witness this Rath Yatra festival. It happens all around the world. The Lord is famous not just in this world, he is famous in all the three worlds. He is the possessor of all knowledge. The Lord, he came and he gave the most fundamental instructions to Arjuna in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. And here we are, 5,000 years later, still trying to learn and trying to scratch the surface of the Bhagavad Gita. So he definitely is, he possesses all knowledge. The Lord is a possessor of all beauty. Everyone is so attracted to the beautiful form of the Lord. We see so many examples from his various pastimes. And in spite of all these qualities that the Lord possesses, the Lord is completely renounced. He is not attached to anything. And this example for this show, and he is very, very humble and meek in front of his great devotees. So we see how in the Rajasuya Yajna of Yudhishthir Maharaj, Lord Krishna himself was washing the feet of all the Brahmanas. So that is how renounced, how merciful also the Lord is. He is not attached to his power. He has so much of strength and wealth, fame, everything. And he is the Supreme Lord himself. But still, such a small, such a very, very tiny service. So very, very, very difficult service. So that is why Lord is known as Bhagavan. So now we get into the first section. As we said, in the acronym, G is used for representing the first section, which consists of the first 10 verses. And in this section, we talk about Arjuna's indecision, how Arjuna gives the next reason for not fighting the battle. And ultimately, he decides that, oh, this is really not working out. He is completely confused. He's very bewildered. And he decides to surrender to the Lord. So in this section, after Krishna chastises Arjuna, Arjuna is trying to explain to Krishna why this is so difficult for him, because he's standing on the battlefield and he has to face all these people who are his most worshipable, who are his grandfather, his guru, or he has to stand there and battle all of them. So he explains his predicament there to Krishna. So at that moment, Arjuna thinks that, oh, it is so much better to just leave all this and go and start begging for a living. That would be better than killing all such great souls. They are great Mahanubhavas. That's what he's called, he says. And so he's stoned, he's confused. On one side, he has to fight so that they can regain their kingdom. And the other side, he feels like leaving the battlefield and begging for a living. So he was not sure. At this time, Arjuna requests Krishna. So we look at that verse. He tries to become a disciple of the Lord. He surrenders to Krishna and he seeks his instructions. So we'll see the verse. It is verse 2.7 of this chapter. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prachami tvam dharma sammuda cheta Yashreyasa nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam. The translation is, now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of my early weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple. I am a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So he's saying, Yashreyasam, please tell me what is most beneficial for me. And he says, I'm Shishyasteham. He is now a disciple, and he is saying, Sadhimam Tvam Prapannam, I am surrendering unto you. He is requesting Krishna to instruct him. At this stage, Arjuna is determined not to fight, okay? But because he is so confused, he approaches Krishna saying that I am now in dire need of your guidance. You please enlighten me so that it can mitigate my miserable condition here. So Arjuna has shifted his relationship with Krishna from one of friendship to that of a teacher, student, a guru-shishya relation. Okay, so this is where this is a very, very fundamental thing in our spiritual life too. So through Arjuna's example, we learn that at any situation in our life, right, we need to seek the shelter of a bona fide guru. So what do we mean by a bona fide guru? Just like how if we have a Mercedes Benz, right, we would not take it to any, for any repairs, we would not take it to a random shop, random repair shop. We would only take it to an authorized dealer. In the same way, if we have to learn about our spiritual life, we need to approach the proper authority. A guru is one who comes in the authorized lineage. He is he comes in an authorized lineage of teachers, and he has mastered the spiritual arts. So the disciple learns from the guru, and he passes on the same message without any deviation to his students. So this is a very, very important life lesson that we need to learn here. And that is that so many times in our life, we face very, very difficult situations where we cannot distinguish what to choose, right? We don't know right from wrong. In that kind of a situation, what do we do? So here, Arjuna is showing us what exactly we should do. He's telling us that, see, at this stage, your society, your relatives, your status, none of this is going to help us. The only one who can help us is Krishna and the instructions of the Lord from the Bhagavad Gita. Just like how Arjuna, he is so powerful, he is so intelligent, but when this ultimate test and this ultimate battle came to him, he was not able to resolve and make a decision. And so, just like how Arjuna took the help of Krishna, whenever there is a problem, we also can surrender to the Lord. We can directly take the instructions from the Bhagavad Gita. Just like how many things in our life, for many things, we need to be under the guidance of a proper teacher, of a qualified teacher. If we need to learn music, we go to a music teacher. If we need to learn how to do arts, how to learn how to paint, we go to the corresponding teacher for that. In the same way, even spiritual life is no different. We need an authorized teacher even for this process. That takes us to the next section of the second chapter, which is quite an interesting section, and it covers verses 11 to 30. Okay, so the main question here is, who am I? Many of us are searching for, that's just exactly how I also was introduced to Krishna consciousness, because the question of who am I had come in. So it covers 3 parts: who am I, how we should tolerate the dualities in life, and it takes we see analytically how to distinguish between the body and the soul. What are the characteristics of the soul? These are some of the topics that would be covered in this section. So we start with verse 11, and after Arjuna surrenders to Lord Krishna, the first verse that Krishna says is this: Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Ashochanan Prajnavadamscha Bhashase Gatasuna Gatasumscha Nanushocanti Pandita. So Krishna is saying, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So here Krishna is saying, oh Arjuna, you speak like a very learned man. You have given me so many reasons. But do you realize that you're mourning for something that's really not worthy? You seem to be expressing loss where actually there is no material loss. So in the purports, it is mentioned that you are showing compassion for a drowning man. It's like showing compassion for a drowning man's shirt. So when someone is drowning in a river and you try to stand on the bank of the river and try to fish out the shirt of the man, you're trying to save the shirt of the person rather than saving the person. So Krishna says that is how your compassion is. It is completely misplaced. So after this, Krishna is saying, okay, we don't mourn for what is we don't mourn for either the dead or the living. So why is that? And Krishna explains that further. In text 13, Krishna says, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. We are all so familiar with like the picture that we see of a child. From a child, he grows into a slightly bigger boy, he grows older into a youth, into adult, and from an adult, they grow a little more older, middle age, and finally they grow old into an old man or an old woman. And what this kind of a change, we all are very ready to accept. We accept that, okay, yes, the person is growing. So we are okay to accept this. And we don't lament when that change happens either, right? But what happens is from that old age, when the soul leaves the body, right, we call that death. And at that time too, Krishna is saying, the soul is just passing on from this body to another body on death. As you can see in the picture on the right, it shows how after death, that soul is moved on to another body. So we should not worry about that. There is no reason to lament. So we have our own pictures as a child, and we know that, oh, that is us, because someone told us that that is us. But our body has changed completely, right? The body is constantly growing. It is constantly changing. But we don't lament at all. So, but when we see that the body, the person has finally left that body, we call it death, we get so bewildered. So, but Krishna is saying that this body is just constantly changing. There is nothing. Every 7 years, all the cells in our body are changing. That is proven scientifically. But So we are a completely different person after every 7 years, but still we do not recognize that. So we hear the question of who am I comes. So when someone asks us this question regularly, we say, who am I? If someone asks, okay, who are you? We talk about our name, where we are from. We give them some background on, okay, this is what I have done. This is my education. This is my qualification. This is where my family is. This is my work experience. Sometimes we may give our age, what our hobbies are. We have so many things to tell. But is that really who we are? Right? All of these are so temporary. My hobby may be one thing today. Tomorrow I may pick on a new hobby. So everything about us keeps on changing. So then who is this real me? Who is this one person that does not change? Right? Because when I was a baby, I say that was me. When I'm a small boy also, I will be like, okay, that was me. Or a small girl, I would say that was me too. And now I am still identifying. There's something in me that I am constantly identifying with. There is something in me that is not changing. So let us see who that real me is, who does not change. So here we see the 3 coverings of the body. Okay, that is what forms my composition. So the first layer is, or the outermost layer is the gross body. So the gross body is also known as the sthula sharira. It is what we can feel, right? So it is made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. So this is also known as Panchabhuta, and it is destroyed at the time of death, right? So this gross body is not something that would continue. We saw in the previous picture how at the time of death, the body is there, but then the soul has moved on. So next, we come to the second layer. The second layer is known as the subtle body. Now, this subtle body, it consists of 3 components: the mind, intelligence, and false ego. And just as the word says, it is subtle, right? These 3 components, what are they? The mind is the one that keeps on giving us directions. It keeps on thinking. It gives us so many instructions. It tells us so many things. It says, okay, now you switch on the light. It's getting dark. Oh, it is too hot. It's too cold. I need to drink some water. So many instructions come from the mind. Now, we have the intelligence. Intelligence is the one who decides what to filter, what not to filter. It helps us discriminate. It tells us, okay, this is right, this is wrong. It helps us make decisions. It helps us analyze things. So all of this is done by the intelligence. It keeps us grounded. And then we have the ego. Oh, here it is referred to as the false ego. Why? Because we falsely associate with the body. We falsely think that we are the body, right? But I am not the body. We saw right now that this gross body is made up of 5 elements, right? So we are not carrying that with us when we move on to the next life. So we are not that body. Now, this subtle body, it cannot be felt, like we cannot feel it, like touch it like the gross body, but there are symptoms through which we can actually perceive the existence of mind, intelligence, and our false ego, right? So many situations there. Of course, even now, I have to use my intelligence, I have to think. So a lot of processing constantly happens. And that is how we realize that these components are in the work, are working for us. And now, beneath the subtle body, we have one more layer. And this layer is called the spirit soul. So the gross body, it is changing every moment. We talked about how it changes every 7 years. So many cells are reacting. All the cells in the body change, right? So the gross body will change. But this spirit soul, it remains the same. Despite all the changes that are happening to the body, to the mind, the soul remains the same. This soul, it is spiritual in nature. It is represented by, and how do we realize the presence of the soul? It is represented by the presence of consciousness in our body. So until the soul is present in the body, we say that, okay, I am living. And once the soul leaves the body, I become a dead body. So this is what Krishna is teaching through this verse. So at the time of death, this soul, along with the subtle body that we see here, the two layers, they both will go and find another gross body. And this while the current gross body is destroyed. Okay, so that is how Krishna has very simply he has explained the transmigration of the soul. So after this, Krishna also says that we need to make sure that we execute our duty despite all inconvenience, right? He's again reaffirming that. He's again repeating those instructions to Arjuna. You need to make sure that you do your duty. You need to make sure that you tolerate, just like how we tolerate heat and cold, because we know that this is temporary. We know that this is not going to last for too long, right? The summer comes, hot days are here, but we know, okay, in a few months, winter is going to be here and it is going to be pleasant or cold or however it is, right? So we know that in during the seasonal changes are temporary, and we can tolerate them. In the same way, we need to also tolerate all the happiness and distress as they come. Why? Because that is also not permanent. These are not going to stay permanently with us. No. Krishna says, Tham stitikshasva bharata. Happiness and distress are not permanent. So you need to tolerate. Tham stitikshasva. You please tolerate these changes, Arjuna. After this, Krishna talks about the different characteristics of the soul. So we'll look at what some of the characteristics are. He says that the soul is unborn. Actually, it is said that the soul is a spiritual atom that is smaller than a material atom. Okay, so it is situated in the heart, and it's said that the size of the soul is 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair, part of the tip of the hair. So it is located in the heart, and we cannot measure it. Okay, and it cannot be seen by anyone. It cannot be destroyed by anyone. Only the material body can be destroyed. So Krishna here, and I'm just put the verse numbers, you can go back and refer. He says that the soul is unborn, it is eternal. It can never be killed when the body is killed. So even when the body is killed, that soul is moving on, right? So he says that it cannot be cut by weapons. You cannot burn it by fire. You cannot moisten it with water. It cannot be withered by the wind. The soul is unbreakable and the soul is insoluble. Sorry. So here Krishna is then going on and telling, we can recite this verse together. Vasam shijirnani yatha vihaya navani grinati naro parani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. So in text 22, Krishna says, just as a body, as a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So here Krishna talks about it just like how we change clothes in a day. Like we remove one dress, we wear another dress. It is not a very tedious task for us. In the same way, for the soul also, it just takes and wears one body, and when that body is worn out, it will move on to another body. So Krishna says that this whole bodily plane itself is so temporary. Changing bodies is a very natural thing, just like how we change dresses. So, and that is how Krishna is explaining transmigration. So we see here a picture of a bird in a cage. Okay, so we need to think of the body as the cage and the bird as the soul. So we are the bird that is within the cage. Okay, we will get back to this example once more. Okay, and then Krishna then again he says in text 26, he says, okay, if you don't believe in the existence of the soul, if you still think that, okay, the soul does not exist, this is my last life, this is why I have only one life, then also you don't have any reason to lament, Arjuna, because Krishna says you are never going to incur sin in that case. So you might as well fight, because it is an opportunity. It's your one chance to gain back your kingdom. So according to the atheistic view, also Krishna puts he lines up his thoughts and says, okay, according to this view also, it's okay, you can still fight, Arjuna. And then Krishna says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyete natvam shochitum arhatsi. So he's saying that if you take birth, you are surely going to die. And after death, one is surely going to take birth again. So in this unavoidable discharge of your duty, you don't have to lament. So this is a repeated cycle. Right now you have a duty. You need to make sure that you do that. Okay, by avoiding his duty, Arjuna is not going to be able to stop the death of his relatives. This is very, very important for us to understand. Okay, that particular event is inevitable. It is going to happen. And so in order to fulfill that duty, Arjuna has to make sure that he fights the battle. So here we have a very, very important life lesson. Okay, because now we know who we are, right? We know that we are the soul, we are not this body. So we should realize that we cannot escape the miseries in life just by exploiting, by damaging, by destroying our body. Okay, this is the age where suicide rates are so high. Everyone is so frustrated with their life. There is so much of pressure everywhere. We have COVID, we have so many things to give us so much anxiety in life. And we know, okay, death is definitely unavoidable. Okay, but you cannot escape misery by harming yourself. So we need to make sure that we cannot escape. Even if we do that, the soul is still not going to be destroyed. So what that means is that that soul will still have to continue and experience that misery. So because of that, what is due to me, I need to make sure that I experience it. I have to experience it. Just by destroying the body, I'm not going to gain anything. Okay. So now, how does this knowledge of the soul help me in my day-to-day life, right? So why has Krishna at this point explained about soul and body here to Arjuna? And why is it relevant for us? Now, here is where we come to the next section. And Krishna here is delineating the two duties that we need to perform. There are duties towards our body, or what is known as swadharma. Now, as you can see from the pictures, that means the duties towards me and mine. So my body, my family, my job, my children, my friends, my society, relatives, everybody. These are our worldly duties, and these have to be performed by us. Okay, so this is known as swadharma. Second kind of duty is known as sanatan dharma. And that is the duty of the soul. Okay, this is our duty towards our soul. And it is an eternal spiritual duty. This is our eternal duty. So what is it? It consists of our relationship with God, with nature, and with all other spirit souls. So how do we execute this duty, right, towards our soul? And that is by connecting to Krishna. So here we see one way by which we can connect to Krishna. It is by chanting the holy name of the Lord. It's in the same way, right? By offering prasadam to the Lord. We are by offering bhoga to the Lord, by worshipping the Lord. There are so many ways by which we can connect to Krishna. And in the following chapters, we will be covering that in great detail. As we said, chapter 2 is just a summary, and it is just a summary. So Krishna is just briefly talking about all these different points. Now Krishna is telling us what is going to happen if you don't follow your duties. In verses, okay, so this section covers verses 31 to 53, and in verses 33 to 36, Krishna is talking about what happens if you don't follow your duty. And he's telling Arjuna that you're going to get infamy, a kirti. Krishna has already mentioned this. Arjuna is going to lose his reputation, and he will bring dishonor to his family if he does not fight the battle. And Krishna is now saying that you are going to incur sin if you don't follow your duty. Because you are neglecting your duty, you will incur a sin. As a Kshatriya, he has to fight. And the third thing is that he would be heavily criticized by Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, and all of those great warriors, because they are not going to think that, oh, Arjuna forsake the battle for us. He did not want to harm us. That is why he fled from the battlefield. No, they would just say that, oh, Arjuna is a coward. So he would have to face ninda, great criticism from all of them. So Krishna says it is very, very important for us to execute both our dharmas. Like we have to balance both our dharmas and execute both them. So we will look at verse 40. Neha bhikramana sosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Krishna says, in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement, swalpam, on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Mahato bhayat, Krishna is saying. So there are two things, okay? What is it that Krishna is saying? That even if you make a little advancement, it adds on to your permanent bank account. So over here, and this is talking about our Sanatan Dharma, right? Our duty towards our soul. Just like how our soul is eternal, our duty towards the soul is also eternal. So Krishna is saying that, Krishna is saying that by following the duty towards our souls, it will protect us from the most dangerous type of fear. So what is the most dangerous type of fear? One of the most dangerous type of fear is definitely death. But we see how for the soul, death is not final, right? After death, he again is going to go and find another body. So the most dangerous type of fear is actually that of falling down to a lower species of life. But if we take shelter of Krishna, he is going to make sure that that is stopped, right? We are not going to fall to a lower species of life. We see how in this world, our education, that is something that, If I take a body, I have to start from A, B, C and go on, continue my education and find a job, right? So in my next life, I am not going to start from that where I ended my education. No, I again have to come and start from ABC and keep on learning, right? But in our spiritual life, and this is this is the biggest benefit here, is that our spiritual life, it doesn't stop. Our spiritual life doesn't stop at the end of one life and we have to start over. No, where we stop in one life is where we start from in the next. So that is the a very big bonus that Krishna is giving us. And in this age of Kali, in this Kali Yuga, the best process is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So by thinking of Krishna, by offering prayers to Krishna, by surrendering to Krishna, by offering nice bhoga to the Lord, our soul, we get benefited. So there are many cases where either, okay, now we see, oh, okay, so this is very nice process. We need to make sure that we follow our Sanatana Dharma. But in that process, sometimes we might neglect our Swadharma. That is also not a good idea. We need to make sure that we balance both of them, right? Many individuals, they neglect their Sanatana Dharma. We see that all around us. People have completely forgotten that they need to take care of that bird in the cage. They have forgotten that they need to take care of the soul, because we are so preoccupied with taking care of our Swadharma, taking care of all the things in this material world that concern us. So what actually prevents us from doing our duty? And Krishna says that it is two things that prevents us from doing our duty. One is bhoga and aishwarya. In verse 46, Krishna says that bhoga means we have great eagerness to enjoy very pleasurable things, basically sense enjoyment, right? And aishwarya is the desire for, he's saying that you all want so many opulent things, right? So here we see a picture of a lot of cars, and that's not ordinary cars, all Rolls Royce and very rich, very expensive cars. So this person, right? And it's like, okay, I have one car, I want more. I have some jewelry, I need more jewelry. I have one sari, I want 10, 20 saris. So that greed for more, the desire for enjoying our senses, for getting so many opulent things is so high. And that is what stops us from doing our duty. And that is why we fall for, the Vedas and for the different processes there. And we try to please various devatas. But we need to know that we need to take care of our soul. And the only way by which we can take care of our soul is by connecting it to Krishna. So otherwise, it will be like how we talked about the bird in the cage. So it is already 8:20. So if we clean the cage daily, very nicely, we take perfect care of the cage, we shine it, but it is shining and sparkling, but we are not feeding the bird. What happens? In a few days, the bird will die. In the same way, if we take care of our body and our bodily attachment also, that is our Swadharma. The soul is not going to get its nourishment. We already learned the soul is spiritual in nature. It needs to get a special kind of nourishment, right? So we need to make sure that we are giving it that. So now we move on to a very famous verse of the Bhagavad Gita, the text 47. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur Mate sangostva karmani. So here, everyone remembers the first line, but then after that we forget. Krishna is saying, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. He says, never consider yourself to be the cause of the result of your activity, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So Krishna is saying that basically you do your duty and you dedicate your duty in service of Krishna. And how do we do our duty? We need to perform our duties with great determination and enthusiasm, right? It is only then that we are going to be successful. So Krishna says, when you do that, you're going to be beyond all material miseries. Just by engaging in devotional service to the Lord. Here, what is Krishna saying? Krishna is saying that, okay, you give all the activities, all the results of your work, you surrender it to me, right? So that's what. So by engaging in devotional service, we are freeing ourselves from all the results to our work in this material world. And by freeing ourselves from the result, we are getting freed from bondage to karma. So that way we become freed from the cycle of repeated birth and death. Like what we saw, after one body, the soul is looking for the next body, then the next body, then the next body. We need to be freed from the cycle of unending birth of death. It's just been going on and going on and on. So now we need to make sure that we attain a state that is beyond all that misery. We go back to the kingdom of Godhead. So there is a life lesson that we can share here, and that is that there are so many miseries of life. It is actually a symptom of imbalance. So just like how we see this train, it needs both those lines, and both the lines have to be perfectly parallel to each other. They have to be at the same height, right? We cannot have them inclined in such a way that the train is going to topple. No, we need to maintain that perfect balance. In the same way, miseries in life, it comes because of imbalance between our Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma. So we need to make sure that we pause, we think, we reflect what is going on, and we try to focus and balance the two. With this, we move on to the next section, which is Atma Rama. I'll try to go through this a little faster because we are already out of time. It's 1 hour. Atma Rama, and this section covers verses, the last set of verses from 54 to 72. Okay, so here we talk about Arjuna. He is giving his questions on who is the self-realized. He's asking, who is the self-realized soul, right? Oh, here now Krishna is saying, what is, he's talking about someone who is able to balance everything so well. So Arjuna is asking, what is the result right now? What is the result for someone who performs their duties with so much enthusiasm? So we see that such a person becomes an Atma Rama. He becomes spiritually realized. He finds pleasure in the self. So here Arjuna is asking some questions on an Atma Rama, or a self-realized soul, or one who is a Sthita Prajna. And Krishna responds by giving the different symptoms of the self-realized soul, and he answers all of those in this section. He also tells us what happens if a person is not on that platform, the stages of fall down. And once again, we'll conclude with all the qualities of a Sthita Prajna person. So this is the first question that Arjuna asks. What are his general symptoms? What are the symptoms of a Sthita Prajna person? So Krishna is saying that such a person, he gives up all his material desires. How is he able to material desires? Because he is completely satisfied in being the servant of Krishna. Okay, and such a person is in pure consciousness. We all have so many impurities within us. And because we have been repeatedly taking so many births, we have so many lifetimes of dirt that is in our heart. So, but such a person who is Sthita Prajna, or a self-realized soul, he reaches the stage of pure consciousness. So now how does he speak is what Arjuna is asking next. What do we mean by how does he speak? So what Arjuna is trying to find out is, when they are receiving praise, being blamed, or they are receiving affection or hate, how is he going to react? What is he going to say externally and internally? So Krishna says such a person is undisturbed in mind, amidst all the threefold miseries. We already discussed what the threefold miseries are last week. The Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatmic miseries. He says that they are not elated when there is happiness. They are free from all attachment, greed, fear, and are unaffected by good or evil. Such a person is fixed in perfect knowledge. Arjuna asks him, how does he sit? And what does that mean? Arjuna is asking him, how does he restrain his senses from the various sense objects? This is a picture of Haridas Thakur, who is a perfect example for this. So he says, how does he restrain his senses? He withdraws his senses just like a tortoise draws its limbs into its shell when the moment it senses danger, right? So in the same way, a Sthita Prajna person would withdraw his senses from all the sense objects that are trying to attract him. How do you withdraw your senses? Can you actually reach a stage of complete desirelessness? No, that is not possible. They can do that only if they experience a higher taste. He says, param drishtva nivartate. So we see how, children can be very naughty, right? A child might take a very, very precious, nice, beautiful vase that is easily breakable and try to play with it. So what does the mother do to stop him from, continuing that and trying to break the vase? The mother would go and find something that is a little more interesting for the child, get him his most favorite toy, so that the child can leave that there and move on to a toy, the toy that he likes. In the same way, we can experience a higher taste by pursuing our interest in, by kind of directing all our attention to the Lord instead. So the missing link to a higher taste is the Bhagavad Gita. So just by reading the Bhagavad Gita, if we live the Bhagavad Gita, if we follow what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, we would be able to attain that platform where we can experience a higher taste. So even by chanting the holy names of the Lord, it will help us develop a higher taste. By reading scriptures of the Lord, by reading the pastimes of the Lord, we would be able to engage ourselves in something better, and we would start desiring things for the pleasure of the Lord. And this all is possible by devotion, right? These are the different processes in devotional practice. Then Arjuna is asking, how does he walk? Which means, how does such a person respond to sense objects? Krishna is saying that he is completely free from both attachment and aversion. So such a person is not overly attached to anything, and we think, okay, we should not be attached, so let us be detached, or we should just be averse to something. No, that is also not good. Both extremes are not good. We should be free from both attachment and aversion. And he says such a person, they engage their senses with a very controlled mind, and they have a fixed intelligence. And once they do that, they automatically attain the mercy of the Lord. Now, this mercy of the Lord is known as prasada. So Krishna is saying that these senses, they are very, very strong. So they will just carry us away like a strong wind, right? We say, engage your senses, have a controlled mind, steady, someone with a steady mind. How can we maintain an equilibrium? How can we maintain that steady mind? Krishna is saying that a person who is situated in transcendence can do all this. He can be in a steady mind just because he is in a constant relationship with the Lord. He is in a relationship with Krishna through the process of bhakti. So now he positively engages his senses in Krishna. And that's how we direct us, any desire from something that's negative, we can direct it towards Krishna, and it will help us, it will guide us. So what happens when someone is, okay, so now Krishna is trying to explain what happens when someone is not in this Stita Prajna stage. Someone has an uncontrolled mind. And this is covered in verses 62 and 63. In interest of time, I'm not reading the verse. These are the different stages of fall down. So first, it all starts with the mind. The mind starts thinking of something, right? So we are thinking of some object of our senses. So it can be either positive or negative. Just by this process of thinking about it, we are developing an attachment to that object. So by developing an attachment for the object, we develop lust. So an example that I'll just give in parallel would be that of gambling. So when a person is thinking, so if a person has already experienced what gambling is like, he first starts thinking about it, right? He knows, okay, what it is like. So he thinks, oh, should I go? Should I not go? Should I go? Should I not go? Then automatically he will try to find the right kind of a company, sangam. So he's going to find that kind of a company and he is going to go along with them. That's how he's developing that attachment for that thing. That attachment, once he finds that kind of company, all of them have the same kind of interest, then they all will continue to discuss about it. And that develops a lust. Lust is just lust is when we have excessive attachment towards anything material. It could be for money, it could be for power, it could be for control, it could be, just the regular lust that we talk about. So in such association, we develop that kama, we develop that lust. Once that lust is born, then from that lust, anger arises. When lust cannot be fulfilled and completely satisfied, it is very natural for us to get angry. Okay. And from anger, then we would enter this delusional stage where we don't know what is right, what is wrong. We cannot distinguish between what is real, what is imaginary. And then we lose our memory. And once we get bewildered, that is the loss of memory. And from there, we lose our intelligence. Buddhi nasha happens. Once buddhi nasha happens, then once intelligence is lost, everything is destroyed. So just by contemplating on the objects of our senses, when by thinking of something, we develop an attachment. From there, raga and dvesha develops by attachment or aversion. We automatically will develop a desire, lust will develop. So that is covered in section 62 and 63. And Krishna says, when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. So in this, Krishna ends with the qualities of a sthita prajna, or a self-realized soul. So he says that a self-realized soul, he has given up all the objects of sense enjoyment. He has no desire. His only desire is to satisfy Krishna. And he has given up all sense of possessiveness. So when we say without desire, obviously there will be definitely some, we cannot be desireless. So that's why we we have desires only for a higher purpose, and that higher purpose is Krishna's satisfaction. So he gives up all sense of possessiveness, no attachment, and he is devoid of false ego. By this process, he can attain real peace, and at the hour of death, he will attain the kingdom of God. This is how Krishna ends the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. A lesson we can learn here is that we need to beware, just like how we talked about the different stages of fall down, we need to beware of damaging thoughts. Everything starts with thought, our mind. Once that gets, because once that thought is set in, then it goes into this, we saw, it goes into this horrible path where it gets converted into a cruel plan, and we finally end regretting what action we performed. I just want to quickly summarize this second chapter. There were 4 parts to it. In the first section, we covered Guru, where Arjuna's indecision and how he surrenders to Krishna is explained. Once Arjuna surrendered, in the second section, Krishna talks about what our identity is. What is the difference between the body and the soul, all the layers of the body and the characteristics of the soul. After which, Krishna talks about the 2 duties in the third section, our Swadharma and our Sanatan Dharma, our duties to the body and to our eternal, so to the soul. And he talks about how a person who has balanced both his Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma and performs them with great determination and enthusiasm, how they look, talk, speak, walk, everything, right? So he explains the qualities of a self-realized soul and what the different stages of fall down are if we do not learn to control our mind. Thank you so much for your valuable time. I would like to stop here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Indu, Lekha Mataji. Thank you so much for such a very nicely explained session of the second chapter. Thank you so much, Mataji. We'll open up the forum for questions and answers or comments. Please go ahead. If anyone has questions, you can unmute and ask.
Hare Krishna, Indu, Lekha Mataji. Such a wonderful presentation. Oh my God, it was awesome, Mataji. And I know it was difficult covering 72 verses, you know, in one shot, in 1 hour. It was really next to impossible, but you did it. So thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji, for all your hard work, for all your wonderful presentation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Kirtida Mataji.
That they are not able to unmute themselves.
Okay, now I am able to. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Indu Mataji. What a beautiful session. I really love the acronym you used to, kind of remember the whole chapter content. That was so useful to me. And I also liked how you covered the entire session. I mean, 72 verses in about an hour or a little more than an hour. That's really so nice. And it was at such a measured pace. The way you talked, you didn't rush. And I mean, it's just amazing, Mataji. Thank you so much for all these sessions. So much, I really liked Kirtida Mataji's session also last week and today also. I mean, it's so nice to hear all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for the opportunity. Thank you, Sukasagri Mataji, Kirtida Mataji, Priti Vilasni Mataji. You are all very, very senior and you are training us properly in this part. So we're very, very grateful to you. Hare Krishna.
If anyone is attending the Gita sessions for the first time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Mataji explains things in a very, very structured fashion, and I'm sure you'll get your answers. So definitely, if you have any questions or you want to ask anything at all about the Bhagavad Gita, you can go ahead and please ask.
Mataji, I have a question. Is it okay to ask?
Mataji, we have many devotees here who would be able to answer your question, Mataji.
So, Mataji, my question is that, many times this talk comes up, even, among my friends and classmates and, the other groups which I'm in, that, violence is not looked upon as being a good, trait of a good religion. So they tend to condemn the fact that, that violence is, a religion that preaches violence is not bona fide or something like that. So how do we, I'd like to hear from you, Mataji, how do we address this kind of an argument?
Okay, Mataji, and definitely, I would request all the Kirtida Mataji, Lalitangi Mataji, Preeti Vilasni Mataji to also share their comments, Vinita Mataji, if possible. But this is what I understood, is that being a Kshatriya, so right now here Krishna is talking to Arjuna, and Arjuna is a Kshatriya by birth and by his karma. So he needs to make sure that he follows the duties that are associated with that particular, his particular position in society. And if he does not follow those duties, then he is setting a bad example for all the people, and also he needs to make sure that the praja and his citizens are taken care of, right? So here Arjuna needs to fight the battle so that they can have a proper ruler. And I think that is why Krishna over here is advocating Arjuna to fight. And it is not, and Srila Prabhupada in his purports, he will constantly be explaining that this does not give everyone the license to go about and perform violent acts. No, that's why we need to actually learn the Bhagavad Gita properly from the beginning till the end, because Krishna is not propagating violence. He's not asking us to go and fight and go and do violent acts everywhere. No, he is just asking Arjuna to do his duty, which in the 11th chapter we see how Krishna says, see, even if you don't do it, all these people, he shows his universal form, and Krishna says, see, all these people are already killed. They are already, that is their destination. We talked about how the miseries of life cannot be avoided. So they cannot avoid the fate that awaits them too. So if not for Arjuna, that has to happen some other way. But that's what I think. But Mataji, please share your thoughts.
Thanks so much, Indu. For some reason, they tend to put humanity over dharma, and they think that forgiveness is the best attitude rather than going for war. So, it gets a little difficult to explain in that context. So
that's right, Mataji. Definitely, in this world, we can't go and say that yes, just like how Arjuna fought, we also need to fight. But Arjuna fought a virtuous battle, and he fought under the instructions of the Supreme Lord. What are we trying to do here? There's so many wars being fought, and people are unnecessarily being violent to everyone around them. We have no sense of compassion anymore. That's just how it has become.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Aji, Indulekha
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna,
Koti Danvat Pranam to all Bhakti Sangha teacher, Aji Sukheswari Mataji, Aji Lalitangi Gopi, Aji Preeti Vilasini, Aji Kirtida Sundari Mataji, dear Gopi, Aji Vinita Gandharvi, Mataji, from bottom of the heart, Mataji, not because you feel better, but today I feel that Jaipataka Maharaj, Jaipataka Maharaj is given a class, that much potency in your class, so sincerely, so calm, so So nicely you explained one by one, and it is challenging to explain in a 1 hour all the 72 verses, Mataji. Ananta Koti Dandavat Pranam. Mataji, you explained so nicely about Raga, Dvesa, Kam, Krodh, Lo, Moh, Matsa, and come out from free from the attachment from material. It is our duty to morning 7 o'clock to night to serve our family, our husband. But when our kids are watching us, when we follow all the instructions and Guru Maharaj instruction and everything, whatever we hear, we apply in day-to-day life. Definitely our Prabhu and our those who are not doing Krishna conscious from so many years, but they become so sincere Vaishnava sitting in our shoulder, Mataji. Hari Hari, Gauranga. From last 1.5 years, all Bhakti Sangha teachers class hearing bye, 2 daughters and my Prabhu, they become so sincere. Koti Dandvat Pranam to all Bhakti Sangha teachers. So nicely you explained, dear Indu Lekha Gopi. Hari Hari, Gauranga, Dandvat Pranam.
Thank you so much, Vrinda Gopika Mataji. You attend all the classes, and you're always there to inspire us, to encourage us. Thank you so much, Mataji. You are a perfect example, and we try to learn from you, Mataji. You are so sincere. You're so dedicated. You always want to support, encourage all of us. We are like your children. And I really seek your blessings, Mataji. Thank you so much for your very, very sweet words, Mataji. Please don't cry. Hare
भक्ति
Krishna.
में कोई छोटा और बड़ा नहीं होता है. क्या पता लास्ट बर्थ में आप सब मुझसे बहुत ऊपर होंगे और आज भक्ति देने के लिए आप सब हमारे घर पे आए हैं. ऐसा नहीं होता है.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay.
Hare Krishna,
Shall-
Indu Lekha,
Hare
Karuna
Krishna,
Mataji.
dear Lekha Mataji.
Dandavat pranams to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. So I like the combination of Pranav and you together. I always say that, and I cannot stop commenting on that. I know Pranav, you should hear. That was so cute, Mataji, and definitely the acronym that is called out in each of the chapters. Definitely, it helps us remind of the chapter in a more condensed way. Thank you so much for that, and your elucidate expressions and talking about 72 verses is not easy, as everybody mentioned, and I think you did a great job in narrating it so very well. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your association, and looking forward to hearing more from you. And thank you, Mataji, for this service that you're doing. Really,
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much,
it, on top
Radhika.
of so many other services that you do. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Radhika Kasturi Mataji. Thank you so much for your very sweet words. Mataji, that acronym, actually, Kirtida Sundari Mataji is the one who started it. She started it last week. And so we will continue to have acronyms for each and every chapter. And very grateful to her and Lalitangi Mataji for both sharing.
Absolutely. Okay. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Looks like you're out of words.
Yeah, I'm just ready.
Thank you, H.G. Radhika Sundari, Kasturi Sundari, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranams, Mataji. I was just waiting to hear from you and then talk. So you made my day as usual. Just your presence on the call and I listening to you makes my day complete. Thank you, Mataji, for your association. Really, really blessed to have your association and your video on as well. I'm sorry, I'm not in a position to turn on my video, but I really appreciate your darshan, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Mataji just came from job.
You look fresh and cool.
That is where we learn how to be determined and enthusiastic in our Krishna conscious journey, Mataji. You came from work and you started chanting right away. Very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your very valuable time, Matajis. I think we can end here. It's already 8:50, 9:50 EST. I am very sorry to keep you all waiting for so long. And thank you so much for this opportunity, my dear Preeti Vilasni Mataji, dearest, all the coordinators. There are so many of you, and Vinita Mataji and Kirtida Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Indulekha Mataji, and thanks to all the devotees for joining. And please stay tuned. As you know, in the first class, Kirtida Sundari Mataji, the speaker of the first session, did talk about the Sankalpa. So it would be nice if you stick on till the end of all the chapters. So next week, we will meet with the third chapter. We'll see an overview of the third chapter with a different speaker, and then the speakers will rotate again. So you will have different flavors from different speakers, and hopefully that will keep you tuned to this entire series. So we are looking forward to having your association throughout the 18 chapters. Thank you all so much again. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhu.
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
आगे सिंधुलेखा करुणा माताजी की जय। थैंक यू माताजी।
वृंदा बेबी की जय।